Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by taking you out to dinner. In your mind, at least.
I'm ready. Where are we going?
Somewhere nice,
Yeah.
old school, white tablecloths, heavy silverware, the kind of place where the waiters wear those little waistcoats.
I can picture it.
So you've just finished a massive main course. Let's say it was a roast leg of lamb, rich, fatty, maybe with some potatoes that were roasted right there in the drippings. You are absolutely stuffed. You're leaning back in your chair, kind of contemplating the buttons on your shirt, wondering if you overdid it a little
A
bit.
very familiar feeling, yes.
And then the waiter comes by to clear the plates. And what is left on the side of that plate?
Oh, I know exactly what you're looking at.
It's that little green sprig,
The garnish.
the garnish. Usually it's, sitting in a little pool of cooling gravy, looking a bit sad, maybe wilting under the heat lamp.
Yeah, completely forgotten.
And 99% of us, we look at it, we treat it as pure decoration, and we send it back to the kitchen to be scraped into the trash without a second thought.
It's the universal signal for I am finished. It's like the period at the end of the sentence of the meal.
Exactly. It's just confetti.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we are diving into a whole stack of research biochemical PDFs, clinical trial data, agricultural reports that suggest we have been getting this completely wrong. That little green sprig, specifically Menthes baccata, might just be the most misunderstood object on your dinner table. We've been treating it like aesthetic filler, but the data suggests it's actually a sophisticated piece of biological technology that we've basically forgotten how to use.
We really have. And honestly, to call it decoration is, well, it's a bit of an insult to our ancestors.
How so?
Because when you dig into the history and then you layer the modern biochemistry on top of it, you realize that putting that sprig of mint next to a fatty piece of lamb wasn't an aesthetic choice. It wasn't about making the plate look pretty for, Instagram, which obviously didn't exist.
Right.
It was a functional choice.
Functional in what way?
It's a concept the sources refer to as intuitive pharmacology.
Intuitive pharmacology. I love that phrase, but let's break that down. What does that actually mean?
It's the idea that our culinary traditions didn't just evolve in a vacuum. I mean, over thousands of years of trial and error, humans figured out that if they ate this specific plant with that specific meat, they didn't get sick. They don't feel bloated. They didn't get cramps. They didn't have the vocabulary for lipid peroxidation or calcium channel blockers or, choleritic action. But they understood the outcome. They knew that A plus B equaled feeling better.
So they were doing chemistry without the textbook.
Precisely. They were biohacking before we had a word for it. And today, we do have the textbook. And that is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to take that garnish off the side of the plate and put it under the microscope.
Yeah.
We're going to look at how Menthes baccata, that's spearmint, moves from being a digestive aid in the kitchen to a serious clinical tool.
And when you say clinical, we aren't just talking about, like, fixing a tummy ache after too much gravy.
No, absolutely not. We are talking about things that usually require a prescription pad. We're talking about hormonal regulation in polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS.
Right.
We're talking about shielding the brain from cognitive decline and improving working memory. We're even talking about anxiety modulation.
I have to say, the PCOS data in the notes was the part that actually stopped me in my tracks. I consider myself pretty open-minded about nutrition, but the idea that a tea something you buy for $3 a box at the grocery store can rival pharmaceutical interventions for hormone management, I mean, that's a bold claim.
It is a very bold claim, and usually when we see claims like that, we should be skeptical. In fact, we must be skeptical.
Right. It sounds like snake oil.
It does, but the difference here is the mechanism of action. We aren't talking about, magic vibes or anything like that. We are talking about specific enzyme inhibition. We can trace the molecule from the leaf to the liver and see exactly which switch it flips.
Well, I definitely want to get to the hormones, and I absolutely want to get to the brain health stuff, because I think we could all use a memory boost.
For sure.
But I think we need to start where the confusion starts for most people. Because I'll admit, until I read these notes, I thought mint was just, mint.
You are not alone in that. Most people think mint is a single category.
Exactly. If I buy mint tea or mint gum or mint chocolate chip ice cream, I just assume it's all from the same plant. But the sources are very, very clear. Specificity is everything here.
It is. It's the whole ball game. If you want the medical benefits we are about to discuss, you cannot just grab any old mint off the shelf. You need Menthes baccata.
Okay, so set the stage for us botanically.
Yeah.
We have Menthes baccata, which is spearmint, and then we have the one everyone knows, Mentha piperita, or peppermint.
Yeah.
What is the actual difference? Is it just that one is stronger than the other?
It's much more fundamental than that.
Yeah.
Well, to understand the difference, you have to look at the family tree. Think of
Mhm.
it as a fork in the evolutionary road. Menthis baccata, spearmint, is the ancient lineage. It's a natural species. It has existed in that form for a very, very long time.
Okay, so spearmint is the OG.
Spearmint is the original. Now, mentha piperita, peppermint, is actually a sterile hybrid.
A hybrid.
Yes, it's a genetic cross between spearmint and watermint. It's essentially a mule in the plant world. It can't reproduce by seed. It only spreads by its roots. And because of that hybridization, something very distinct happened in its chemical machinery.
Well, that happened.
Peppermint gained the ability to produce a specific enzymatic pathway that creates one very famous molecule, menthol.
Menthol. Right, that's the smell of toothpaste. Vicks Vapor Rub.
Yeah.
The stuff that just blasts your sinuses open.
Exactly. Menthol is a powerhouse molecule. But here's the key to understanding why we use these plants differently. Menthol activates a specific receptor in your body called TRPM8.
DRPM8. That sounds like a droid from Star Wars.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
So what does that receptor do?
It is your body's cold sensor. When menthol hits that TRPM8 receptor, it tricks your brain into thinking the tissue has dropped in temperature. That's why peppermint feels so icy. It's aggressive, it's numbing, it's a shock to the system.
Which is great if you want fresh breath or if you're, trying to wake up in the morning.
It's fantastic for hygiene, it feels clean, it feels sterile. But imagine that sensation in the context of dinner. Imagine taking a bite of hot roast lamb, savory and rich, dripping with fat, and then suddenly your mouth feels like you just ate a candy cane.
Yeah, that's jarring. It would completely ruin the meal.
It would be totally discordant. It numbs the palate. You wouldn't be able to taste the nuances of the meat because your cold receptors are just screaming.
So peppermint is out for dinner. It's just too aggressive.
Peppermint is for dessert or for the bathroom sink. Now go back to the other fork in the road. Mentha spicata, spearmint. It lacks the enzyme to make menthol. It physically cannot produce it.
Oh, interesting.
Instead, its metabolic energy goes into a different compound called carvone.
Carvone, how do you spell that?
Carvone. This is the signature molecule. It makes up about 60 to 70% of the essential oil in spearmint.
And carvone is a different experience.
A completely different sensory experience. It doesn't freeze you. It's sweet, it's herbaceous, it's soft. It adds complexity without numbing your tongue.
So purely from a culinary perspective, the reason we see spearmint on the dinner plate is because of this one molecule.
Exactly. It complements savory flavors instead of fighting them. But here is the kicker. Carvone isn't just a flavor compound. It is a bioactive drug.
And this brings us right back to that idea of intuitive pharmacology. We didn't just pick it because it tasted nice. We picked it because carvone does something to our gut.
It does. And to understand why, we have to look at what happens to your body when you eat a heavy meal. Let's go back to that roast lamb.
Okay, let's stick with the lamb example because it's the classic pairing, right? British roast lamb with mint sauce. I always assume this is just a weird British quirk, like Marmite or something.
It's easy to write it off as just tradition, but look at the nutritional profile of that meal. Roast lamb is incredibly rich. It is loaded with lipids fats.
Delicious fats, but very heavy.
Right. And when you drop a massive load of lipids into your stomach, your body kind of goes into crisis management mode. Digestion is a very energy-intensive process. The sources describe the role of spearmint here using a really great analogy, the brake and accelerator.
A brake and accelerator for the stomach.
So the entire GI tract, let's start with the accelerator. When you eat fat, your body needs to break it down so it can be absorbed. But here is the physics problem. Fat is oil. Your stomach contains water. They don't mix.
Like salad dressing, you have to shake it up to get them to combine.
Exactly. Your body's version of shaking it is bile. The liver produces bile, which acts like a detergent. It emulsifies the fat, breaks it into tiny little droplets so your enzymes can actually attack it.
Okay.
If you don't have enough bile, that fat just sits there. It creates a backlog. That's that brick in the stomach feeling.
I ate too much and now I need to lie down for an hour feeling.
Right. That heaviness is a sign of poor emulsification. Now, enter carvone. Carvone is a potent choleretic.
Choleretic. I assume that shares a root with cholesterol or maybe cholera.
It comes from the Greek chol, which means bile. A choleretic substance signals the liver to produce more bile and stimulates the flow of that bile into the small intestine.
Oh, wow.
So by eating the mint sauce with the lamb, you are chemically signaling your liver. Incoming heavy load, ramp up the detergent.
So you're preloading the digestive system. You're literally hitting the accelerator on fat breakdown.
Precisely. You are preventing the indigestion before it even happens, but then you have the second problem with fatty meals, and that requires the break.
What's the problem that needs breaking?
Have you ever eaten a really greasy meal, maybe some fast food or a rich, heavy dinner, and then maybe 20 minutes later you get that sudden, sharp cramping feeling, that urgency?
Oh, yeah. Where's the nearest bathroom panic? I know it well.
That is often the gastrocolic reflex. The presence of heavy fats can trigger a signal that causes your intestines to contract too hard and too fast. It's a spasm. Your gut is trying to move things along way too aggressively.
And spearmint stops this.
Spearmint is an elite antispasmodic. And the mechanism is just fascinating. It acts as a calcium channel blocker.
Now, I've heard of calcium channel blockers. My dad takes one for high blood pressure.
It is the exact same mechanism, just targeting different tissue. To understand this, you have to visualize a muscle cell in your intestine. For that muscle to contract, to squeeze it, it needs calcium to rush inside the cell.
Right.
Calcium is the go signal. It enters through these little gates called voltage-gated calcium channels.
Okay, so calcium enters, muscle squeezes. Got it.
Right. Now, Carvone stands in front of those gates like a bouncer at a club. It physically blocks the calcium from getting in. If the calcium can't get in, the muscle physically cannot contract. It has to relax.
So it prevents the spasm from ever happening.
It forces the gut to chill out. And the potency is startling. One of the studies in the notes compared Carvone to verapamil, which is a pharmaceutical heart medication used to block calcium channels.
The one my dad takes.
Exactly. In intestinal tissue, Carvone was found to be up to 100 times more potent than verapamil at stopping these specific contractions.
100 times. That seems impossible.
In that specific tissue model, yes, it is incredibly effective. So think about the genius of the meal pairing. You eat the lamb. The mint hits the accelerator on bile to break down the fat so you don't feel heavy.
Right.
Simultaneously, it hits the brake on the muscles so you don't get cramps. It is a complete metabolic management system for a heavy meal.
That is, honestly, that's beautiful. It's like a biological engineering on a plate.
It really is. And we haven't even talked about why it tastes good yet, because there is a chemistry to that too. The sources call it the molecular flavor bridge.
I saw this in the notes, something about carbon skeletons.
Yes. Why do lamb and mint work so well together? Why not lamb and, I don't know, strawberries? Or lamb and banana?
Right. Aside from the texture just being weird, the flavors would just clash horribly.
It turns out they share a molecular language. When you cook lamb, the fats break down and release these specific compounds called branched-chain fatty acids, or BCFAs. These BCFAs are what give lamb that distinct, gamey, almost grassy aroma.
Okay, I can smell that in my head.
Now look at spearmint. It is rich in branched-chain ketones. To your nose and to your brain, these molecules look like cousins. They share the same structural architecture, the same carbon skeleton. So when you smell them together, your brain doesn't see a conflict. It says, these belong together. It's harmony.
And there's a note here about clover. That was really interesting.
This is the nuance that I loved. If the lamb was pasture-fed, specifically on a diet rich in clover, the connection is even stronger. Clover contains a compound called phytol, which gets stored in the animal's fat.
Okay.
When you cook the lamb, that phytol breaks down into compounds that are even more chemically similar to the mint. So the diet of the animal actually preloads the flavor match.
That is incredible. So the mint sauce isn't covering up the flavor of the meat. It's chemically interlocking with it.
Exactly. It's not a mask, it's a bridge. It completes the picture.
Okay, so we've covered digestion, we've covered flavor, but there was a third leg to this intuitive pharmacology stool, and that was preservation.
This is the antioxidant shield, and this applies before you even take a single bite. This happens in the oven.
Right, because cooking is a violent process, chemically speaking.
It is. I mean, you are taking organic matter and blasting it with high heat. When you roast meat, specifically the fats, you trigger a process called lipid peroxidation.
Break that down for me. Lipid means fat. Peroxidation sounds a lot like rusting.
That's a great analogy. It is essentially the fat rusting. The fats react with oxygen and heat and start to go rancid. They degrade. This creates a cascade of free radicals and toxic byproducts called aldehydes.
Aldehydes. Are those dangerous?
They are pro-inflammatory, they can be carcinogenic in high amounts, and they're the primary reason leftover meat tastes off the next day, that warmed-over flavor. That is the taste of lipid peroxidation. It's the taste of damaged fat.
Okay, so where does the mint come in?
Spearmint is loaded with phenolic compounds, specifically one called rosmarinic acid. The sources describe these as sacrificial antioxidants.
Sacrificial, that sounds very dramatic.
It's accurate, though. Imagine a grenade jumping on a soldier to save the rest of the platoon. That is rosmarinic acid. When the heat creates a free radical, this rogue molecule looking to damage the fat, the rosmarinic acid steps in.
Right.
It donates a hydrogen atom to neutralize the radical. It literally takes the bullet. It destroys itself to save the fat.
So it acts as a shield, a chemical shield.
Exactly, and it's potent. One study compared spearmint extracts to BHT butylated hydroxytoluene.
That's the synthetic preservative you see on cereal boxes and stuff.
Right, the industrial stuff. The spearmint extract was just as effective at reducing TBRs, which are the scientific markers for rancidity, as the synthetic chemical.
So if you marinate your lamb in mint before you cook it,
You are coating the meat in a protective layer. You are literally stopping the creation of toxins during the cooking process. You end up with a safer, tastier, less oxidized piece of meat.
it really redefines the whole idea of a marinade. I always thought a marinade was just to make it taste good and maybe tenderize it. I didn't realize it was thermal protection.
It turns cooking into a much safer chemical reaction. So you see, the garnish is doing heavy lifting before, during, and after the meal. It's an incredible system.
Okay, I want to pivot now. We've been in the kitchen. We've talked digestion, flavor, cooking, but the sources take a hard turn into the clinic. And this is where things get really, really interesting for me. We were talking about hormones, specifically polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS.
This is where we move from helpful culinary herb to clinical intervention. And for the listeners who might not know, PCOS is a massive issue. It affects up to, 10 to 15% of women of reproductive age? It's a metabolic and hormonal disorder characterized by high levels of androgens.
Androgens are male hormones, right? Like testosterone.
Correct. Women naturally have testosterone. It's important for bone health and libido and muscle. But in PCOS, the levels are elevated significantly. And this is what leads to the irregular cycles, infertility, acne, and hirsutism, which is excess facial and body hair.
And usually the treatment for this is heavy-duty stuff. Birth control pills, lactone, metformin.
Exactly. Pharmaceuticals with significant side effects, which is what makes the data on spearmint so compelling. We are looking at a simple tea acting as a validated anti-androgen.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here. How on earth does a tea leaf lower testosterone? Is this just a placebo? Is it just relaxing people so their stress hormones go down or something?
Yeah. No, it is biochemical. It goes right back to enzymes. Your body creates hormones through a cascade of reactions, like an assembly line. To make testosterone, you need a specific enzyme. It has a terrible name. $17 beta-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase.
Okay, let's just call it the testosterone maker.
Fair enough. The testosterone maker. Spearmint contains compounds that inhibit this enzyme. It throws a wrench in the gears of the testosterone maker. It also inhibits another group called cytochrome P450 enzymes involved in the process.
So it creates a bottleneck in the production line. It slows it down.
Exactly. It physically stops the synthesis of the hormone.
And this isn't just theory, right? They've tested this in actual human women with PCOS.
Yes. The main study cited in our source material was a randomized controlled trial. They took women with validated PCOS and put them on a protocol.
What was the protocol? Was it some concentrated pill? Some $500 extract?
No, that's the beautiful part. It was tea, just 2 cups of spearmint tea daily.
Just 2 cups from the grocery store.
2 cups. They allowed stevia for sweetening, but no other changes to their diet or lifestyle. And within 30 days, they checked the blood work.
What did they find?
A statistically significant reduction in free testosterone and total testosterone.
In just 30 days. That seems incredibly fast for a hormonal shift using something so gentle.
In the world of endocrinology, that is very, very responsive. And it gets better. It didn't just suppress the bad stuff, the androgens. It helped restore the good stuff.
What do you mean?
It increased LH, which is luteinizing hormone, and FSH, which is follicle-stimulating hormone.
Those are the hormones that control the menstrual cycle.
Right. Those are the signals that tell the ovary to get ready and release an egg. So it helps restart the stalled engine of the menstrual cycle in these women.
That is huge.
Yeah.
But there was a very specific warning in the notes about managing expectations, specifically regarding the hair growth, the hirsutism.
This is critical. This is so important. If you are listening to this and you have PCOS and you start drinking the tea, you might get your blood work back in a month and see that your testosterone is down, which is great. But when you look in the mirror, the hair is still there.
And that's incredibly discouraging. You might think it's not working and just give up.
Right. But you have to understand the biology of hair. Hair follicles operate on a very long clock. The hair that is on your face today was triggered by hormones from 3 or 4 months ago. It's already in the pipeline.
So even if you cut the fuel line, the testosterone today, the car is still coasting on fumes.
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy. You have to wait for the current hair cycle to finish, for that hair to shed, and for the new cycle to begin in the new lower testosterone environment.
So what is the realistic timeline for seeing visible changes?
The sources emphasize 3 to 6 months of consistent use.
3 to 6 months.
You have to play the long game. The chemistry in your blood works fast. The biology of your hair follicles lags behind.
That is such an important distinction. Patience is the prescription here.
It is. But knowing that the blood work changes in just 30 days gives you the confidence and the data to keep going.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move up the body. We've done the gut, we've done the reproductive system. Now we are going to the brain. The notes call spearmint the nootropic leaf.
This is really the frontier of the research. We are realizing that the same compounds that protect your meat in the oven, the antioxidants, are also protecting your neural networks.
Specifically, there was a study on working memory. Can you define that for us first? Because I feel like I lose mine about 3 times a day.
Working memory is your brain's RAM. It's the scratch pad. It's your ability to hold a phone number in your head while you dial it, or remember the beginning of this sentence by the time I get to the end. It's the ability to manipulate information in real time.
And that's usually the first thing to go as we get tired or stressed or as we age.
Exactly. It's the where did I put my keys phenomenon. The study involved older adults with age-associated memory impairment. They were given a spearmint extract, specifically one high in rosmarinic acid, every day.
And what was the result?
A 15% improvement in working memory accuracy.
15%.
It's a massive number. Think about it. If I told you I could upgrade your computer's RAM by 15% for just a few cents a day, you'd take that deal in a second.
In a heartbeat. 15% is the difference between feeling foggy and feeling sharp.
Precisely. They also saw a 9% improvement in spatial working memory. And that's the where are my keys function, specifically.
Do we know how it's doing this? Is it just the antioxidant shield again, protecting the brain?
That's definitely part of it. The brain is mostly fat. It's the fattiest organ in the body, so preventing that oxidative rusting is key. But there is a more specific mechanism here involving neurotransmitters. It's called acetylcholinesterase inhibition.
Okay, that's a mouthful. Break that down.
Think of your brain cells like people passing a note in class. The note is a chemical called acetylcholine. It carries the message, remember this.
Okay, acetylcholine is the messenger.
Right. Once the message is received, the note needs to be destroyed so the next message can come through clearly. There is a cleanup crew, an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase, that comes along and shreds the note.
Okay, so we had the messenger and the shredder.
In conditions like Alzheimer's, or even just in normal aging, you don't have enough messengers, or the shredder is working too fast. The notes are getting shredded before you can read them. You forget things.
So spearmint.
Spearmint distracts the shredder. It inhibits the enzyme. It keeps the acetylcholine, the messenger, in the synapse a little bit longer, giving it more time to deliver its message.
That sounds exactly like how some Alzheimer's drugs work.
It is the exact same mechanism of action as drugs like Aricept or Donepezil. Obviously, the plant is much milder, but it's hitting the same biological target. It's keeping the communication lines open.
Now, usually when we talk about things that boost memory or focus like caffeine or Adderall, they are stimulants that amp you up. But the notes mention something about sleep and sedation.
This is the beautiful paradox of spearmint. It seems to make you sharper, but it also makes you calmer.
How is that possible? Usually focus means wired.
Because while the rosmarinic acid is boosting your memory, the volatiles, the essential oils like carvone, are interacting with the GABA system.
GABA is the chill-out neurotransmitter. It's the calming one.
It's the primary brake pedal for the entire nervous system. The terpenes in spearmint modulate GABA receptors to produce a mild anxiolytic or anti-anxiety effect. Historically in South America, spearmint was actually used as a folk remedy, as a sedative for sleep,
Oh, it's like a smart sedative, gives you focus without the jitters.
which is really the holy grail for productivity, isn't it? You want alert relaxation, not frantic energy.
This all sounds almost too good to be true. Better digestion, hormonal balance, better memory, better sleep. But usually in these deep dives, this is where we have to drop the hammer. The fine print, the warnings.
And there is a big one here, a really big one. We call it the iron paradox.
This one actually shocked me. I consider myself pretty nutrition savvy, and I had no idea about this at all.
Most people don't. And if you are anemic, or if you are a vegetarian or vegan relying on plant sources for your iron, this is absolutely critical information. Spearmint tea can inhibit the absorption of iron by up to 84%.
84%. That basically wipes out the nutritional value of your meal, iron-wise.
It pretty much zeroes it out, but we have to be specific. It inhibits non-heme iron.
Define that for us.
Non-heme iron is the iron found in plants, so spinach, lentils, beans, fortified cereals. In those foods, the iron atom is chemically exposed.
No.
The polyphenols in the mint, the same ones that are saving your brain, are what we call chelators. Imagine them like little magnets or claws. In your gut, they see that exposed iron, they snap onto the molecules and bind them tight. They form this giant insoluble complex.
And then what?
Your gut lining looks at this big, clunky complex and says, "That's too big, I can't absorb that." And it passes right through you into the toilet.
So if I'm having a healthy lentil stew, which is my main source of iron for the day, and I decide to wash it down with a cup of spearmint tea thinking I'm being super healthy.
You are actively stripping the iron from that meal. You are creating a nutritional deficit right there on your plate.
But wait a minute, we just spent 20 minutes praising the lamb and mint combination. Lamb has iron. Why is that okay?
Because lamb contains heme iron. It is blood iron. The iron atom is wrapped inside a protective protein shell called a hemoglobin molecule. It has its own little suit of armor. The mint polyphenols can't get to it.
Oh, that is fascinating. So the biology validates the tradition again.
Exactly. The pairing works with meat. It actively clashes with plants.
So what's the rule? If I'm a vegetarian, do I have to give up the tea entirely?
No, not at all. You just have to mind the gap. The strategy is all about timing. You need to wait about 2 hours between your plant-based meal and your tea.
2 hours?
That gives your body enough time to absorb the iron from your food before the chelating polyphenols show up.
Okay, that's manageable. That's a clear rule.
Yeah.
Are there any other warnings we need to know about?
Pregnancy is the other big one. In therapeutic doses, like the 2 cups a day PCOS protocol, it is contraindicated.
Why is that?
Spearmint is what's known as an emmenagogue. That's a fancy word that means it stimulates blood flow to the pelvic area and uterus. Theoretically, in high doses, this could trigger uterine contractions. So if you are pregnant, a little garnish on your lamb is fine, but don't drink gallons of the tea every day.
And what about the microbiome key? That was in the bioavailability section of the notes.
Ah, yes. This is the catch with many polyphenols like rosmarinic acid. We eat them, but we aren't actually very good at absorbing them directly. The absorption rate of rosmarinic acid is estimated to be around 1.57%.
That is incredibly low. So
Yeah.
we drink the tea, and 98% of the good stuff just stays in our gut and does nothing.
It stays in the gut, but that's not the end of the story. That's where your microbiome comes in. Your gut bacteria see this rosmarinic acid and they start to feast on it. They metabolize it. They break it down into smaller metabolites like caffeic acid.
And we can absorb those smaller pieces.
We absorb those very, very well. And those metabolites are what actually provide many of the antioxidant and systemic benefits in our blood.
So what you're saying is if you have poor gut health, if your microbiome is out of whack,
The mint might not work as well for you systemically. The efficacy of the plant depends on the quality of the ecosystem in your gut. It's a partnership. You provide the raw material, which is the tea, and your bacteria process it into the active medicine.
that connects so many dots. It's not just you are what you eat. It's you are what your bacteria can process.
Precisely.
Okay, let's get practical. I'm sold on the benefits. I want to try this. But apparently, according to these notes, I've been brewing my tea wrong my entire life.
I think we all have. We treat it like a Lipton tea bag. Boil the kettle, drop it in, walk away, leave it open on the counter.
Guilty. Absolutely guilty.
Here is the chemical conflict. To get the rosmarinic acid, the brain stuff, the antioxidant shield, you need heat. You need hot water to extract it from the leaf. But the carvone, the digestion stuff, the anti-cramping stuff, is a volatile oil.
Vol means it evaporates easily.
It wants to be a gas. So if you pour boiling water on it and leave the mug open, what happens?
The steam rises. And the whole kitchen smells delicious, like mint.
And if the room smells like mint, that means the medicine is in the air, not in your cup. You are fumigating your kitchen with the active ingredients. You're losing them.
So how do we keep it in the cup where it belongs?
The protocol is simple, but it is non-negotiable. Step 1. Water just off the boil, around 90 to 95 degrees Celsius. Don't use scorching hot water.
Okay.
Step 2. Steep for a good 10 minutes to extract the phenolics. And step 3, this is the most important one, cover the vessel.
Put a lid on it.
Put a little saucer on top of your mug. Put the lid on the teapot. You have to trap the steam. As that steam hits the cooler lid, it will condense and drip back down into the water. That creates a closed loop that returns those precious volatile oils to the tea.
It's such a small detail, but it makes perfect sense.
It can double the therapeutic value of the volatile fraction. If you don't cover it, you're just drinking hot leaf water. If you cover it, you're drinking medicine.
And what about fresh versus dried? Does it matter?
Fresh is wonderful if you have it growing in your garden, but if you're buying dried, look for freeze-dried or air-dried in the shade. You want to avoid sun-dried. The UV radiation from the sun destroys chlorophyll and oxidizes the oils. If you open a bag of dry mint and it's brown and smells like hay, throw it out. It's dead. You want dry mint that is still vibrant green. That tells you the chemistry is still intact.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. I want to do a quick recap of the protocol just to lock it in for everyone listening.
Let's do it.
For digestion.
You want to drink it post-meal, especially after fatty foods. 1 cup is enough. It'll activate the bile and it'll block the cramp.
PCOS and hormones.
Consistency is absolutely key. 2 cups daily. Expect to see blood work changes in 1 month, but give the mirror test the cosmetic changes 3 to 6 months.
For iron safety.
Keep it away from your lentils and your spinach. Leave a 2-hour gap between your tea and any plant-based meals.
And for brewing.
Put a lid on it. Simple as that. Don't let the magic evaporate into the air.
You know, what I love about this deep dive is how it changes the way you look at the world. We started with the garnish, the thing we throw away. And it turns out that garnish is a powerful tool.
It forces us to rethink that whole food as medicine paradigm. We so often look for the newest synthetic supplement or the latest biohack. We want the pill in the shiny bottle. Yet, right here, sitting on the side of the plate, is a plant that humanity intuitively engineered into our diet over thousands of years.
Right.
They didn't have the PDFs or the clinical trials, but they knew it worked.
They knew it balanced the meal.
They knew it made the lamb safer, the digestion easier, and the body calmer. It was never, ever just decoration. It was a silent partner in our health.
So, the provocative thought to leave you with today is this. What other garnishes are you ignoring? What other silent guardians are sitting on your plate, ready to solve a complex metabolic problem if you just stop pushing them to the side?
That is the question to ask.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.